You know, somebody once told me to just eat, as if a can of pop and a slice of pizza were the solution to an eating disorder. Just eat so the family just gain weight, so the doctor just be happy, said everyone. But if you put yourself in my shoes for just a second, you would understand that it's not that simple. People think they know, because they know the dictionary definition of anorexia is a loss of appetite for food and inability to eat. As if she chose to starve herself down to 76 pounds, as if she wanted to look in the mirror in disgust, as if she could turn it all off and just eat. It's not that easy now, is it? It's not black and white when all you want is to be happy, and happy is better, but is it better to be thin and happier, to be healthy but disappointed because your ribs no longer point out? How it's so out of touch. Either way, you can't win the battle inside your mind, and you remind yourself you want to be normal, but normal is not basing your self-worth on a gene size, but that doesn't stop you from believing the lies to win the prize of what? Dying to be thin? And if you don't understand, good. Good for you. It's a sick and twisted perception of beauty that I hope you never come to know. But understand the bigger picture here, the mental illness is serious. And if it was so simple to just eat or break free, don't you think any one of us would? So open up your eyes and choose your words wisely, because that girl doesn't need you staring at her with disgust. She already does that to herself. She needs people to love her until she can learn to love herself again.
Hi, you're watching The Curve on Health Matters. I'm Kat Leonard.
And I'm Megan Bradley.
And that was Karly George sharing a little bit of her experience with anorexia in a very artistic way. And we would like to join her right now.
Thank you.
So we have...
Thanks for joining us today.
Karly,
thank
what
you
a
very much.
video.
What a video. And today's very special. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're celebrating today?
For sure. So today is actually the 4th year anniversary of the first time I checked into the doctors to get help.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
And when did you produce the video?
I actually did that last year, so I did that as part of my requirements to get into university for the film program. I ended up going into media, but no, I'm happy that video ended up being produced. So
It's an amazing video.
Thank you.
It really is.
Thank you.
Now, can you tell me, 4 years ago, what happened? What was going through your mind? What was the state of your life?
Whew. 4 years ago, I was definitely not in a good place. Thinking back to that day, it was horrible, and I didn't know something was wrong. It was actually my dad who approached me the first time, and he said something's not right, and he asked me to step on the scale, and he didn't realize that that was the 3rd time that day that I had stepped on the scale, and he asked me what was wrong, and I didn't know. I had lost 15 pounds. I was down to 76 pounds. This was back in grade 10, and we didn't know what was wrong, but we knew that it was time to get help, and that's when we checked in.
Interesting. So, because I think most people think that you're deliberate, but you really didn't know what was wrong.
No.
And you're so tell us a little bit about your attitude towards food 4 years ago.
It was a lot of restricting. As a kid, I was fine. I was a happy, healthy kid, but I don't know where it changed, but it ended up being starting to reduce calories and then exercising compulsively and then obsessing over. It was primarily calories, but also just in terms of when to eat and when not to eat, and it was just a very unhealthy time of my life, yeah.
Can you remember what prompted this behavior?
I can't say it was anything in particular, and that's the interesting thing about eating disorders. I don't know. I think there's a lot that could be genetic. I think it could be influenced by the media, but in order to pinpoint a specific point, I don't think there was any point that actually turned me. But I do think also that eating disorders are about control, and I think that food becomes a coping mechanism, and you kind of thrive off of that success kind of punishment system, so you feel good when you eat good foods and bad when you eat bad foods, and it was almost a way of gaining control over my emotions.
Interesting. And would you say that that the face of it could be different for everybody? Like everybody would have different reasons for why they end up in that place?
For sure. And I think there's several different kinds of eating disorders too. So I think there's not a one-size-fits-all formula for it. Yeah.
So how did your journey, that first trip to the doctor, did the doctor understand immediately, or did it take some time to figure out where you were at?
I think it was pretty obvious from the outside what I was going through. Not so much like internally for me to process that or even admit it, but yeah, from there it was getting in touch with the proper support systems to carry forward with
so
counseling.
that happened fairly quickly then?
It did, yeah. Fortunately, I had a good support system back in Waterloo, so.
That's fantastic.
And were you immediately receptive to getting help, like you knew, or was there a period where you're like, no, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong? Like,
honestly, I probably resisted treatment for the first year and a half.
okay.
And even periods throughout after that. It was the turning point for me in my recovery was when I had student council co-presidency lined up for the following year, as well as I started my own company. But in the summer prior to that, they said that if I didn't gain, I think it was about 10 pounds, the rest that I needed in order to be at a healthy weight, they said that I would be admitted to actual intake versus outtake, outpatient therapy. Right. So I was like, I do not want to spend my senior year of high school in a McMaster hospital. That wasn't, especially when I had so much going forward, I didn't want to have that all slip away. So that was a turning point for me in my own mind, but it took a lot to get to that point to be here today. So,
and is there, do you consider yourself fully recovered? What's the mind of Karley now?
Whew. To be honest, I'd say I still struggle with periods of anxiety and depression. And I think when the eating disorder thoughts were stripped away, that was kind of my emotions, my ability to cope with emotions was also taken away. And I'll be honest about that because there's no sense in hiding that. But I think that I don't know if there's ever, I have two different opinions. Some days I'm like, oh, recovery is possible, and then other days I'm like, I don't think anyone is ever fully recovered because you're always with your own mind throughout your whole life. And so I think you can be recovered from the chronic eating disorder obsessions, but I think that you still have to take the proper self-care practices with you day in and day out in order to live a healthy life.
And that can be said of anything. I mean, when we talk about whether drug addiction or alcoholism, nobody talks about, they say that this is who I am for the rest of my life, and I have to choose accordingly, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time.
Right.
Would you say that kind of makes sense? Yeah.
I do. And when I look back on that girl in the video and I look at it, it's still me, and that was still a part of my life. And to say that that's just gone and is kind of, it will always be there, but it's not necessarily me right now. So I think that's kind of the way I look at it.
Which is good, because it's a fair expectation, right? You don't want to say, oh boy, it's just like, if you had something physically wrong with you, I took this medication and then I'm fine. It's not like that.
No.
No, and that's, we don't want to set a precedent that that's what it's like. You have to live with it. Yeah.
Right.
How do you feel when you watch that video?
Whew, lots of emotions.
Yeah.
Sometimes it breaks my heart to watch it, but not for my own self, just to think that there's other people still out there still going through that phase in their lives. Because when you're in it, sometimes it feels like you're never going to get out of it, but I think coming out and being on this side of things, it's nice to know that recovery, in a sense, even though health, I think wellness is possible, and I think that you can take control of your life in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
And what tools do you utilize in order to keep on the healthy track?
Whew, that's a good question.
Yeah, don't ask us. Don't turn it back on us.
I think the biggest thing for me, and I would say it's like a mental tool, is to understand the why in everything that I do. So even just in terms of food or even exercise, am I exercising because I want to lose weight, or am I exercising because I want to treat my body well and feel healthy? And same thing with food. Am I constricting my food because, am I changing my food diet because it will help me, or am I changing it because I think that I will lose weight? And then just that framework, I think, can help you to understand. Just that framework will help you to make better decisions with each step that you take.
So being aware. Constantly checking in with yourself.
For sure.
Yeah,
which can be a challenge when we're bombarded in daily life by.
And the truth of the matter is some days we're making the right choices for the right reasons,
so
and
true.
some days we're not. And I think that is true for anybody, and and all walks of life, goodness. If there was, because you said when you're watching the video and you said, you know what, I feel for anybody who's going through that right now. What would you want to tell them if they're in that place? What would be like one of the first things you'd love to say to them coming from where you're coming from?
That's a really good question.
It's a big question, I know. But even just something small.
Something small, okay.
Was there something your dad said to you in that moment that made you listen?
I think he told me it's going to be okay and we're going to get through it.
Oh, you had a great support system.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that's the word of advice, isn't it? Is get that support system.
That support,
because sometimes if that doesn't come through family or friends, you know, we certainly, well, we met you. We had the pleasure of meeting you at a NEDIC event, the National Eating Disorders, and that's certainly a wonderful, they played a big role in your recovery too?
I actually got in touch with them after I was discharged from the CMHA, but I was through the Waterloo system. It was the Canadian Mental Health Association.
Okay.
But yeah.
Good. So either support.
Support,
That is the key. And ongoing too for all of us.
For sure.
Absolutely.
What, using your art form to communicate your experience, does that help you heal, and how do you hope that to help others heal?
I did it. I felt that it got a sense of my power back by sharing that. It definitely
creative control almost.
Creative control, and to know that it's okay, and to be able to help others who are going through that as well.
Well, and they say like it's such a big thing, you know, a happiness point. Help others. Help others makes you feel better, makes you feel productive.
It does, yeah.
And sometimes, you know, I'll have a day where I'm just like, I'm just gonna lay here forever, and just doing one thing, like maybe putting some dishes in the dishwasher. It's a small thing, but it's something positive.
It is, yeah.
And I think that's really important. Karley, this has been so amazing to speak with you.
Thank you for sharing.
And to see you perform this piece as well as see the video, both very impactful.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break here on The Curve, and we're going to be back with Dr. April Elliott, who is a specialist in eating disorders and a pediatrician, amongst other things. So we're going to take a break and be back for another really curvy conversation here on The Curve.